This is a shameful episode. West Midlands Police had evidence that Islamist extremists based in Birmingham planned to attack Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. Let's call that what it is. It is vicious anti-Semitism. And we cannot allow violent Islamists to impose their will on our country. Yet that is exactly what West Midlands Police, through weakness and through fear, allowed to happen. They should instead have confronted the Islamist extremists. In fact, they should have investigated the extremists for inciting racial hatred, as Jonathan Hall KC said only yesterday. But instead, they capitulated to the Islamist mob by banning the Maccabi fans. But it gets worse. The West Midlands Police then tried to hide what they had done. They fabricated a claim that it was the Maccabi fans who were the dangerous ones. They claimed a previous game in Amsterdam had led to violence by the Maccabi fans. This claim was a pack of lies from start to finish. The Mayor of Amsterdam and Dutch police have now confirmed the West Midlands Police simply made the whole thing up. The Chief Constable must be fired. The Home Secretary claimed a moment ago that she now has no powers to dismiss the Chief Constable. But she failed to mention to the House Section 40 of the Police Act 1996, which remains in force today. Under that, she as Home Secretary has the power to direct the Police and Crime Commissioner to do things, including dismissing the Chief Constable where, and I quote from Section 60 subsection 1, any part of the force is failing to act in an effective manner. That test is quite clearly met. Part of the force, the Chief Constable, is indeed failing to act in an effective manner by the Home Secretary's own analysis. If she's unfamiliar with this piece of legislation, I've got a copy of it here. The Home Secretary must today use her Section 40 powers to go through the process to direct the Police and Crime Commissioner, Simon Foster, to dismiss Craig Guildford. She must stop pretending to have no power and actually act. And now we come to the role of the Home Secretary herself in this scandal. In a briefing to the BBC on the 17th of October, a source close to the Home Secretary, which we all know means her special advisor acting with her authority, said the Home Secretary first knew about the possibility of a ban the previous evening, the 16th of October. We now know that is untrue, from evidence given to the Home Affairs Select Committee last week and by the Home Secretary's own admission just now. We now know Chief Constable Guildford personally briefed the Home Secretary on the 8th of October that it was likely away fans would be banned, and that was the police's recommendation. So will the Home Secretary now apologise for allowing her advisor to give the BBC untrue information on the 17th of October? And the Home Secretary herself must now answer this. She knew on October the 8th that it was likely away fans would be banned over a week before the final decision was taken on October the 16th. Yet it appears, in those critical 8 days, she did nothing to investigate further or to try and stop it from happening. The Chief Constable, in his evidence to the Home Affairs Committee last week, said that when he briefed the Home Secretary on October the 8th about the likelihood of the ban, she merely noted, that was his word, she merely noted what he had said, not asking further questions or showing curiosity in what she was being told. She did not convene personally any meetings attended by her in the following 8 days or take any personal steps to clarify the situation. She expressed concerns and took action only after the decision became public on October the 16th, by when it was too late. She was asleep at the wheel at the critical time. Given the disgraceful events that followed, does the Home Secretary now accept that she was wrong to personally ask no questions? Officials may have asked questions, but she didn't personally ask any between October the 8th and October the 16th. Does she accept it was wrong to stand by and do nothing during those critical 8 days? And by the time she did take action after the 16th, it was too late. And by standing by during those critical 8 days, she allowed the ban to happen and let the Islamists win. Will the Home Secretary apologise to the House for that inexcusable inaction during those 8 critical days And will she also commit to exercising her Section 40 powers to direct the Police and Crime Commissioner to dismiss the Chief Constable?
Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Let me just first say to the Shadow Home Secretary, I have a long and very personal experience of standing up to extremists in Birmingham, not least in the last general election campaign. I think my track record speaks for itself, and I am a woman who knows of what she speaks. Unlike clearly him, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Shadow Home Secretary appears to be unfamiliar with the law or indeed Sir Andy's findings in his report. So let me remind him of a few things. Firstly, it was the Conservative government that removed the Home Secretary's direct power to remove a Chief Constable. It used to be a power contained within Section 42 of the Police Act 1996. That was repealed by the Conservatives in their 2011 Police and Social Responsibility Act, which explicitly removed the power. And I will quote from the explanatory notes of that Act, and I do believe that the Honourable Member for West Suffolk is very aware of what is in these explanatory notes, as I suspect he drafted them and approved them when he advised the former Home Secretary Baroness May. Those explanatory notes say the Secretary of State does not have power to direct a police and crime commissioner to suspend or remove a chief constable. That is the law passed by the previous Conservative government themselves. And as he should well know, if he made himself familiar with how the law is to be interpreted and to be implemented, he would know that Section 40 of the Police Act, which remains in force in the 2011 Act, cannot be read in isolation. When these matters will be litigated before a court will be very aware of the direct powers removed by the repeal of Section 42. You cannot read the two things in isolation, and if he paid any attention to the detail, he would know that, and he would know that the Home Secretary does not have the power he claims that I do. Secondly, Madam Deputy Speaker, I would suggest that he and other honourable members, for their own interest, do actually pay attention to what Sir Andy has written in his report of today. At page 11, he deals with what the Chief Constable has suggested was the reading of the meeting that took place on the 8th of October. Let me just give a bit of context to the House. That is a meeting of police chiefs that I called myself following the attack in Manchester on the 2nd of October. I had already announced that I was going to look at police protest powers, and I had asked the most senior chief constables in the land, the National Police Chiefs Council, the College of Policing, and indeed Sir Andy Cook himself to attend a meeting with me. Towards the end of that meeting, we did some horizon scanning of other difficult decisions that were coming up that might have public order consequences, and this was one such matter. It was mentioned briefly by the Chief Constable, and his recollection of that is absolutely untrue. He did not say to me, or indeed anybody else in that room, that West Midlands Police had already made the decision to reduce the allocation of tickets to Maccabi Tel Aviv fans to 0, but that it was ultimately a decision for the SAG when it next met. That is absolutely categorically untrue. And I would say, given the seniority of everybody who was in the room that heard what was in fact said, if this was the case, it would have elicited a reaction, not just from me and my officials, but from many of the other senior policing officials who were present in that room. What was made clear to me is that the ban was a possibility, but it was one of a number of options that were being considered. And as late as the 15th of October, the football policing unit made clear to Home Office officials and the policing minister that all options were still on the table. And the next thing we or anybody else knew about it was when the decision was taken itself on the 16th of October. And so, Madam Deputy Speaker, I think it is important that all members stick to the facts in this matter, as Sir Andy has made clear in his factual findings in his report. There will be those who wish to play politics with this matter, but I'm afraid that does not meet the test of evidence as set out in the report. And I would recommend to the Shadow Home Secretary actually pay some attention to the detail on this matter.